ॐ दक्षिणास्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशव वामन कृष्ण पाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Now Lord Krishna is talking to Arjuna about the Sthita Prajnasya Lakshanani. Now who is a Sthita Prajna? We saw last time that a person who has made the Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, or the person who has fixed his goal, Purushartha Nishchaya has been made as moksha, and the one who is really wanting to be free from this samsara, whose goal is very clear to him and who's going through all the steps of the required sadhana, what is called as the sadhana sopana of moksha, is going through rung by rung. He's climbing up the ladder of this entire journey of a mumukshu, rung by rung. First thing is, he has made the vyavasayatmika buddhi or nishchaya of moksha. Then he is going to get into the rung of karma yoga. With karma yoga, he is going to get chitta shuddhi, jnana yogyata prapti. And in the next rung, he is going to climb up to the jnana yoga, which contains shravanam, mananam and nididhyasanam, which I have already described last time. And the person who has finished all these, gone through all these steps, and ultimately who has reached his goal of Atmajnanam, and the one who is abiding in that Atmajnanam, who is a Jivan Mukta, is called as a Sthita Prajna. So it could be a Sthita Prajna, Sthira Prajnaha, Jnani, Tattvajnaha, Brahmajnaha, Brahmavid. There are so many names given to this person. All that they mean is that this person has gone through the necessary sadhanas and properly gone through them in that particular order and reached that goal which was already that which was determined by him. And the Sthita Prajnasya Lakshanani Mumukshoho Sadhanani. We said that last time also. For a Mumukshu, these are the Lakshanas of the Sthita Prajna that can be emulated, that can be actually used for benchmarking to see how much of these qualities I am at least developing. It is to benchmark or judge myself as to where I am. It's not meant to judge or benchmark the other sadhakas. It is basically for myself only. And we saw in the last, two verses, that is the 55th and the 56th verse, we saw Atmani eva Atmana tushtaha. That is, he is so full and complete in himself, he does not look for anything else in the world outside for his fulfillment. That was the first, characteristic we saw, which becomes natural for him. But for a mumukshu, the mumukshu has to try for this. And the second we saw in the 56th verse, or Dukkheshu Anudvignamana, the one who is not flustered by any unconducive or dukkha situations, Sukhetu Vigata Sprihaha, who is not carried away by the situations of happiness or sukha, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodaha, in whom the raga, or the kama or the desires, raga, bhaya, that is the fear, and also krodaha, that is the anger, all these three have been diluted, and they are used by him as and when is necessary, appropriately, in the right situation and the right time, and these no longer bind him. So we saw up till this. Now Krishna is going to bring this Sthita Prajna Lakshanani in almost every chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Every chapter is going to have all these Sthita Prajna Lakshanani, only because it is something which is an important benchmark. It's an important kind of a value against which the mumukshu can actually see where he is. And that is something which Krishna is going to bring in every chapter. In at least a few verses of every chapter from now on are going to have the same Sthita Prajna Lakshanani that are going to be given in this chapter, but in probably expressed in a different way. Now we'll go to the next verse. That is this one. That is the 57th verse we'll go to. And here Krishna says, Yah sarvatranabhisnehaha tattat prapya shubhashubham nabhinandati nadveshti tasya prajna pratishtita. Tasya sthita prajnasya prajna pratishtita. Now he is very much abiding in that particular knowledge, Atmajnana, Aham Brahmasmi iti Jnanam, which gives him these lakshanas, which become his Swarupa Lakshanani, Swabhavika Lakshanani. What are they? Sarvatra Anabhisnehaha. Sarvatra, everywhere, in all aspects, in all objects, in all situations, in his Vyavahara with the Jagat outside, Anabhisnehaha means in all situations, he does not have any obsession with what he is doing. He does not have any possessiveness or obsession about what should be, what should not be. So he is not unduly entangled, not unduly possessive and obsessed about any of the situations or things outside. And when he is doing his Vyavahara, he is freely doing it without having any kind of a stress, and nothing binds him. Neither his karma nor the karma phala bind him, and therefore he is very freely, like a very expert swimmer enjoys his swimming and freely swims about. So he swims about in the world of Vyavahara and does not have any kind of undue obsession with anything. Then tat tat prapya shubha shubham, in the first line, the second line, tat tat prapya shubha ashubham. Tat tat prapya, whatever he gets, prapya, shubham, ashubham. Naturally, for a jnani also, in his activity or in his vyavahara in the jagat, there will be some favorable results, favorable conditions. There will be unfavorable results, unfavorable conditions. But then in these situations, na abhinandati, He's neither carried away and, oh, I'm so happy that this happened very well. He may feel happy, but then, oh, I did it. I did it. Look, I did so well. So that abhinna abhinandati. He does not get totally carried away with the success if his action happens to be a success. Na dveshti. He does not have any kind of a hatred or dvesha towards anything, even if his vyavahara does not result in whatever he has wanted. There is no dvesha towards it. Na abhinandati, na dveshti. For what? Sarvatra, in all his actions, towards everything that he interacts with the Jagat, whether that particular interaction or transaction brings about a success or failure, a favorable results or unfavorable results. Shubha ashubham tattat prapya na abhinandati na dveshti. Such a person is called as a sthita prajna. It is almost very similar to what we saw in the previous verse, the 56th verse, and the 57th is almost literally an extension. Sukha dukkha was what was told about in the previous verse, and his reactions to sukha dukkha are not yo-yoing, because his raga, bhaya, and krodha are quite well managed and diluted. And that is the very reason that he does not have any kind of a strong possessiveness or a strong obsession towards anything in this jagat. And whatever transaction he does, whatever may be the result of that transaction, he neither has abhinandati na abhinandati na dveshti tasya prajna pratishtita. Now, in the next verse, in the 58th verse, Krishna wants to talk about why this kind of a attitude of this jnani is there. At the same time, what should a person who's a mumukshu take care? What kind of a care should he take when it comes to managing his sense organs or indriyas? Now he's talking about a state where he says, see, the indriyas or the sense organs along with the mind, they're absolutely necessary. For any vyavahara in the world, in the jagat outside, even a jnani has to use his sense organs, his antakaranam, and also he has to use his buddhi, he has to use his ahankara. All these are instruments which have to be used by a jnani also, by an ajnani also. Then, what is the difference now between an ajnani and a jnani? Now, here Krishna says that a jnani who is a sthita prajna knows how and when to use his sense organs. That means the sense organs are under his, I won't say control, he's in charge of his sense organs. Now we can't say control means it's not a question of suppressing the sense organs, but a person has to know how to use his sense organs and the mind so that the mind and sense organs do not become badhakas on his journey, okay, on in his travel towards moksha, on his path of travel of as a mumukshu. They should be sadhakas, because for shravanam you need the ears, okay, for mananam nididhyasanam you need the mind. To go and listen to the guru you need an ahankara. Yes, I want to listen, I have made this purushartha nishchaya, and I need to use my sense organs, I need to use my mind. But then how does a jnani or a sthita prajna use his sense organs? The sense organs are mere reporters. The sense organs are not pulling me to do a particular action. The sense organs are not telling me or forcing me to get into a certain action. The sense organs are merely reporting whatever they are experiencing in that field. The eyes merely report the color and form to the mind. The ears merely report the sound waves. Similarly, all the other sense organs. Therefore, when Krishna talks about Indriya Nigraha, Dama, or Shama, Manonigraha, what Krishna wants to say is that one has to be in charge of these Indriyas, and one should not let the Indriyas and mind to take charge over him. If that happens, then the Sthita Prajna cannot remain a Sthita Prajna, Or, of course, the Sthita Prajna is already beyond all these things, and for him it does not matter. The one who is trying, who is a mumukshu, who's doing the sadhana of karma yoga, upasana, jnana yoga, jnanam, for such a person, it is absolutely necessary to keep his senses under his vasha. He is the master of the senses and mind, and the senses and mind are not the masters of him. So here Krishna is talking about it in this verse, about 58th verse. He says, Yada samharate chayam कूर्मोऽङ्गानीव सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणि इन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः तस्य prajna pratisthita. Now, he says, for a sthita prajna, his indriyas are all the time not open to the jagat or the world of objects and situations. Even if they are open, they do not really distract him. Now, what he is compared to a kurma, to a turtle or a tortoise. Now, the turtle or a tortoise does not have any other way of escaping from danger. Whenever there is a danger, and when the turtle experiences fear, out of fear, to escape from danger, there is only one way a turtle can protect itself, because it's a very slow mover and it does not have any kind of instruments to fight against the danger. So what does it do? It just withdraws all its sense organs, withdraws itself into a shell. Now, a sthita prajna is one who has already withdrawn all his senses into himself. That means what? He is actually in control or in vasha. All his indriyas and mind are in svavasha, not in paravasha. That means the jagat, with all its novelty and beauty and attractiveness, cannot actually distract the sense organs of a sthita prajna. Why? Because whenever it is needed, the sthita prajna sends out his sense organs and does the actions. Whenever the sense organs are not required to be used, the sthita prajna withdraws the sense organs into himself. And this should be the sadhana for a mumukshu, the one who is pravritta. That's what Acharya Shankara says in his bhasha. In this, the one who is a pravritta into this jnana nishtha, the one who is trying to be a pravritta, that means the one who is trying to get into this jnana nishtha, a viveki, the one who wants to abide in this jnana nishtha, has to be like a kurma. He has to keep his sense organs withdrawn and he should be in the vasha of them. Now, in our scriptures or in Vedanta, sense organs are not blamed for what happens when a person goes after the sense objects. It is not the sense organs to be blamed, because they are mere reporters. By trying to censure the sense organs, or by trying to kill and destroy the sense organs, we are only killing the one who is a messenger. They are simply messengers. There is a proverb, killing the messenger boy. We don't have to kill the messenger. What is it that is causing that distraction and attraction and involvement in the world of objects for me? It is not the sense organs that are reporting what they are seeing, but it is my fancy here inside. When I have a fancy for the sense objects, as and when the sense organs report to me a sense object, it is my fancy that draws me outwards and takes me towards those sense objects. So here, what is it? That particular fancy is not there in this jnani or in this sthita prajna, because by atmanatma viveka, he has already understood that the jagat of objects has its role. All the objects in the jagat have a certain role to fulfill, but they are not the ultimate. They are not going to give me permanent peace, security, and happiness. He knows it. Therefore, he is not drawn by his fancies. He is not pushed by his fancies. And therefore, a sthita prajna already has all his sense organs and mind absolutely where they belong, in himself. He is in control of them. Whereas an Ajnani or a mumukshu, the one who's trying to be a sthita prajna, has to take immense care that he uses his sense organs and mind whenever it is necessary, and whenever it is not necessary, he has to withdraw the sense organs into himself so that his fancies are not stirred up by the messengers or the sense organs. You see, in our Shastra, actually, there are prayers for strengthening the sense organs, because the body and the sense organs are required for this sadhana. Even to be a karma yogi, you require very, very strong indriyas. To be a jnana yogi, you require strong indriyas. And after being a jnani, to do the loka sangraharte karma, also you need strong indriyas. And therefore we have prayers, shanti patas are there, isn't it? Bhadrang karne bhi shrunuyama devaha, bhadram pashe maksha bhiryajatraha, stiraihi angaihi, tushtuvagam sastanubihi. That means, oh Lord, give me the strength and the bala of the sense organs and the body so that I may reach my goal of Atmajnana Nishta. Sama Veda has got Apyayantu Mamangani, Vak Prana, Chakshu, Shrotra, Matho Balam, Indriyani Cha Sarvani. You know, that is the Shanti mantra of Samaveda. Let all my sense organs be very, very strong enough so that they are sadhakas for me on this path, not badhakas for me. And Bhadrang Karne bhi Atharvana Veda, Shanti Pata, we already know that. So we have here, even our Vedas, even the Upanishads have the Shanti Patas, which pray for the strength of the sense organs. Here, the strength of the sense organs means not the weakness of the sense organs. The fancy of the mind should not make the sense organs weak. Here, I am in charge of the sense organs. Like in a ratha, the sarathi who is wielding the reins and keeping the horses under control, it is in our Upanishads, the horses are compared to the sense organs, the sarathi is compared to the buddhi, and the reins are compared to the mind in Kathopanishad. So what is said here is, I have to be like that sarathi. The buddhi has to be a discriminative sarathi who directs, who guides the sense organs appropriately at the right place at the right time. So here, yada samharate, when this jnani who is already a sthita prajna or a sthita prajna pravritta mumukshuhu, what does he do? Samharate kurma angani iva sarvashaha. Everywhere means whenever it is not necessary, the sense organs are almost literally withdrawn like a kurma, like a tortoise or a turtle, which it draws itself and remains like a stone or some kind of a shell there. Indriyani indriyarthebhyaha, okay, samharate. Samharate means what? Upasamharate. That means what? All the sense organs from their arthas, from the vishayas, are upasamharate, or they are withdrawn, because unnecessary exposure of sense organs to the sense objects may disturb the fancies in my mind. I may go on dwelling on that, and it will go on to a state where I'm not able to control them. So for both a sthita prajna, he is in a natural state of withdrawal of the sense organs, whereas for a mumukshu, indriyani indriyarthebhya samharana upasamharate. Tasya prajna pratishtitaha. For a mumukshu also, he will attain such a kind of a sthita prajna state with this, and already a sthita prajna has this naturally as his characteristics. So, yada samharate chayam kurma angani iva sarvashaha indriyani indriyarthebhyaha. All the sense organs are withdrawn from their respective arthas, and such a person's prajna, such a person's abidance in this jnanam is strong. It is a strong abidance in this jnanam. I'm not taking too long on these things. As I told you, sthita prajna lakshanas will keep coming in almost every chapter, in every, in every context. The next one, he says here that, okay, if I withdraw the sense organs. Now, Arjuna may ask this question. Krishna is expecting it, and we also will probably have this doubt. All right, but then I may withdraw my sense organs, but then that fancy is always there inside me. That fancy is not gone. That rasa is not gone. That emotional value, the intellectual value for something outside the object of the world is still there. Just because I have withdrawn all the sense organs, does it mean that I will stop going after the sense organs? As long as the fancy is there in the mind, as long as the spruha is there in the mind. Spruha means what? An emotional or an intellectual value for a certain thing. So I have a great emotional value for certain thing outside, that is in the world of objects outside. And I may not have seen it for a long time. I may not have experienced it for a long time, but still, as a fancy, it is still there in my mind. And when the sense organs are exposed to that particular sense object, there is a possibility of my suddenly going off the track and my indriyas just going after that particular object of the senses. Therefore, he says in this next verse that just because you withdraw the sense organs, it does not mean that you are going to abide in this jnanam. And for that, even the rasa means what? That fancy which I have in the mind should also go. And that is what happens in a sthita prajna. Even the fancy for a certain thing is lost in a sthita prajna. Whereas in a mumukshu who's going through this particular, whatever kind of this sadhana he's going through, for him, it is always possible that a deeply rooted, a deep seated fancy for something may just take him completely out of his composure. So Krishna warns that this is possible here. So he says here, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Now he says that there are situations where a person has not exposed his sense organs to any objects of the world outside. He has literally kind of starved the sense organs, or who has not fed the sense organs at all. What is the meaning of feeding the sense organs? Constantly allowing the sense organs to work in the world of objects. You're feeding the sense organs with the sense object. But now a yogi, okay, a yogi may be, somewhere he's just sitting, not going out at all for days together, months together. He has not exposed his sense organs to any object of the world. Niraharasya dehinaha. Niraharasya means what? This person who has not fed his sense organs with the objects of the world. Niraharasya. Then there is another possibility. There may be a person who's doing a great tapas, sitting on a mountain top or in a guha or somewhere where he's not coming in contact with the jagat at all. A kashta tapasvi. The one who's doing a kashta tapas means very severe penance he's doing. For years together, he's sitting and there no exposure to the jagat at all. Such a person also, the sense objects have gone away from him. The sense organs have withdrawn themselves from the jagat. So, vishaya vinivartante. The sense objects have gone away. The sense organs have almost literally are abiding inside. They're not going around here and there. In a person who has consciously decided not to feed his sense organs with sense objects, a yogi or a tapasvi who also has no exposure to the world outside, or even a murkha. He says, Acharya says, Shankaracharya in his Bhashya says, these are the three situations. Even a murkha, a person who is, mentally retarded or what, a murkha you can call it, or somebody he may not be, actually exposed to the world of sense objects. But then, though the Vishayas have gone away, the Indriyas have folded, in to the Atma, still the Spruha will be there in them. So the Spruha or Rasa has not gone. Rasa means what? That Raga, that enjoyment that I have had with the particular object of the Jagat, that rasa, that fancy, that value, emotional value, that intellectual value, it is still there. Even in these three people, it is there. So it is all the time there in these people also. And therefore, whenever a tapasvi comes out of his tapas, or a yogi comes out of his samadhi, or even a murkha is exposed to these sense objects, what happens here? That spraha which is there, and that which, that value or fancy which is there, it will just ignite itself. Therefore, in a sthita prajna, what has happened? Raso api asya varjam. Rasaha api varjam. Not only indriyani are vinivartante. Indriya arthas vinivartante. They are not there, they just, go away, or they are just withdrawn. But here, that fancy or that rasa which this person has got also has gone away. Why has it gone away? Because he has seen something higher than that. Param drishtva. Param drishtva means what? Seeing something which is greater, which is higher, the one which can give him that complete total, that which he is abiding in, that purnatvam. And that rasa, the fancy in his mind, is not going to give him anything extra. So param drishtva, after having seen the Atma Swarupam as Aham Purna Atma Aham Asmi, the rasa has also gone away. So it is not only the Indriyas and the Vishayas which are withdrawn or going away from this person, the rasa is also gone. Therefore, for a mumukshu, it is very necessary to constantly contemplate upon the Purnatvam of Atma Swarupa and try to see how much emotional, intellectual value I have towards the world of objects. Of course, we are emotional beings. All of us, we cannot live without emotion. We all have emotional values towards the objects of the world, situations of the world. Yes, that is not a wrong thing. That's not a bad thing. To do your work for a grahastha, even for a sannyasi or a jnani, to do his karma, one has to have certain emotional stability in this. But what is his emotional stability? The fancy does not draw him away from his center, Atma. The fancy and the sense organs are vasha. They are not paravasha. They are svavasha. What is the meaning of paravasha? Supposing you have your money in somebody else's pocket, not in your pocket, then what independence, what freedom do you have? You have to ask that person. That person has to give you, only then you can spend, correct? But you have money, your money in your own pocket, it is svavasha. I can spend it, I need not spend it, I can spend it the way I want. So when my indriyas, when my mind and when my fancy are not with me, not under me, not under my vasha, but if it is under the vasha entirely of the sense organs and the world outside, then I can never abide in this knowledge. So a person in whom not only the indriyas are withdrawn, in whom the spruha or the rasam. Rasam means what? That memory of wow, how beautiful it was. I want to experience it again. So that is called as the rasa. That rasa is also gone away. Now, Krishna wants to warn Arjuna that even if it is a viveki, even if it is a mumukshu, in a person who is trying to get this prajna, pratishta in this prajna, or the person who's trying to emulate the sthita prajna, in spite of his viveka, in spite of his understanding, there are possibilities that one may be completely distracted by the sense organs. And I have to be very, very careful and very, very alert and watchful. So, in a mumukshu, especially when one comes to jnanam, a jnana yogi, at the time of nididhyasana, one has to be extremely alert. Nididhyasana means a life of alertness, a life of awareness. At every minute, I have to be aware of how my sense organs are behaving, how my spriha is behaving, what is a sense object invoking in me. All these have to be very, very alertly watched. So he says here that, Arjuna, it is not so easy to have all your indriyas under your vasha, it is not so easy to get rid of the rasa. It requires a long sadhana of Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasanam to reach to this level of Jnana Nishtha. So in the 60th verse, he says, यततो ह्यपि कौन्तेय पुरुषस्य विपश्चितः इन्द्रियाणि प्रमाथीनि हरन्ति प्रसभं मनः हरन्ति प्रसभं मनः and who indriyani the sense organs if they are not properly managed if they are not under my vasha what can happen they are so powerful that they can suppress the wisdom that I have got so far and then they can forcefully take me away from this nishtha they can forcefully take me away from this knowledge and for whom can it happen yatataha purushasya vipaschitaha he's talking about one person here Krishna who's that a mumukshu he is making an effort yatataha the one who's making an effort to abide in this knowledge yatataha purushasya the purusha who is this mumukshu or this jnana yogi this nididhyasaka yati yatatapi the one who's making an effort to abide in this state of sthita prajna vipaschitaha vipaschitaha means the one who is a viveki the one who has got the atma anatma viveka the one who has understood that aham brahmasmiti paroksha jnanam has happened this person wants to abide in this jnana swarupa he is making an effort yatataha vipaschitaha purushasya api even for such a person he kaunteya he arjuna indriyani pramathini the indriyas are very powerful they can just get out of your control but then because they are meant to work in the field outside the field of action of indriyas is in the world of outside in the world outside naturally the indriyas are naturally drawn towards the objects but then if I am in vasha of them control vasha or if I am directing properly for example if I am sitting behind a wheel driving I have to control the wheel cannot control me so similarly the wheel is like the sense organs here and where I'm going outside the whole world is the world of sense of the wheel can take me anywhere if I'm not holding the steering properly so it is for me to direct and steer the sense organs otherwise if I don't do this indriyani pramatini haranti prasabham means forcefully prasabham forcefully the indriyas can literally draw me away towards their objects and at the same time if I have not taken care of the rasa or the fancy here then it is possible that I may completely be drawn this is only a cautionary note krishna is giving a caution be aware of this don't be under the impression that oh I have all my sense organs and mind under control I don't have to be worried about anything I have been in this field for so many years no it is not like that it can happen anytime that the sense organs can pull me out because that is their nature we cannot blame them I have to be in charge of them so pramathini indriyani haranti manah this mana of this person is forcefully drawn away or taken away so arjuna be very careful therefore what should you do what should a nididhyasaka do what should a person who is exposed to this knowledge and who is wanting to be a sthita prajna what should he do he says it in the next verse in the 61st verse तानि सर्वाणि संयम्य युक्त आसीत मत्परः वशे हि यस्येन्द्रियाणि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता now he says that tani sarvani indriyani sanyamya tani sarvani means what tani sarvani indriyani all my sense organs of action and perception jnanendriyani karmendriyani mana all these sanyamya means what to keep them together I direct them directed by me, held by me, controlled by me, allowed and not allowed depending on what I want, not what they want. Tani sarvani indriyani sanyamya yukta asita. Yukta means what? A viveki, a nididhyasaka, yukta, the one who understands what his sadhana is, what he's aiming at, and now I know Aham Brahmasmi, but it has to become an assimilated knowledge in me, and therefore now I'm in the process of assimilating it so that I become a Sthita Prajna. Such a person is a Yukta, the one who has understood, the one who is trying to abide in this knowledge, Atma Swarupa Yukta, and Asita. May he remain, may he sit means it's not sit, may he remain, may this Yukta, Nididhyasaka, remain. How? Indriyani tani sarvani samyamya matparaha. Matparaha means may you contemplate upon that Atma. Here, Lord Krishna calls this Atma as me. Krishna, he's not talking here as Mr. Krishna. He talks as Atma Swarupa. I, the Atma Swarupa, Brahma Swarupa, you, the Brahma Swarupa, Atma Swarupa are one and the same. Therefore, hey Arjuna, having directed the sense organs and removing the spriha or understanding that this spriha has absolutely no meaning when I have understood I am that Purna Brahman, may you always contemplate with alertness. Contemplate on what? Whatever you have understood by Vedanta Shravanam Mananam. Whatever I have understood about the nature of Atma, nature of Sthita Prajna, who I am, whatever I have understood from the words of Vedanta through Guru Mukha, through the words of the Guru, may you contemplate upon them. Mat paraha means may you contemplate upon the knowledge that you have got. And vashehi yasya indriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. Unless you have your sense organs and mind under your direction, unless they are under your steering, you cannot do nididhyasana, you cannot be matparaha. You may be a yuktaha, but you cannot be a matparaha. You cannot concentrate on contemplation. If you want to concentrate and contemplate on what I have heard to become a sthita prajna, then vashehi yasya indriyani. These indriyas, mind, should be in my vasha, not paravasha. They should be in svavasha. Now, in the next two verses, very, very important verses are, supposing I am a mumukshu on this path, okay, and maybe I have even climbed up the ladder of the entire sadhanas, done enough of Shravanam, done enough of Mananam, and I'm in the process of Nididhyasanam to abide in this Jnana Swarupam Nishtha, Jnana Nishtha. But then what happens is, if my Indriyas are not Svavasha, if my mind is not Svavasha, then what can happen? That is going to be told in the next two verses. That uncontrolled and Indriyas which are not properly guided by me, how they can take me down the path, they can literally, I can slide down that path which I have come up so much. In Viveka Chudamani, this whole thing is compared by Acharya, Shankaracharya, to a ball rolling down. You see, you may take a lot of effort in rolling the ball up against the staircase and you have kept it on the top step or on the landing. And if that ball starts falling, you have no control over that ball. You can't run behind that ball and stop it. The ball is going to just come down step by step by step by step and go and ultimately land itself in the lowest part wherever it is. And we can catch hold of that ball only when we reach there. We cannot even stop that momentum. This happens to a Jnana Yogi or a person who's trying to be a Sthita Prajna if the Indriyas are let loose. If they are not under my guidance, what can happen? is being told in the next few two verses. We'll take these two verses together because they are one after the other, where the whole process of sliding down is mentioned here. Okay. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. The whole fall, no, the entire fall of a mumukshu from the top to the bottom. So he says here, dhyayataha pumsaha. Dhyayataha means what? The one who is constantly, thinking about, the one who's constantly all the time fancying, vishayan, the one who's dwelling over. Okay, there are certain things that I like, yes, but then I keep on dwelling over what I like. That desire for that becomes stronger and stronger and stronger, and I have to achieve it somehow. The more I dwell on the object of my desire, the stronger that desire pulls me out towards fulfilling it. So he says, dhyayataha pumsaha vishayan pumsaha. Vishayan dhyayataha pumsaha. The one who's constantly dwelling on the object of his fancy. What happens? Sangahateshu upajayate. Once I go on dwelling on something, I get deeply connected to that particular thought. Sangaha. Just a thought which just comes about something and disappears, it does not cause that sangha. Sangha means what? A strong connection. Just, oh, I think of some nice thing which okay, I like jalebi. Okay, I think of jalebi, a random thought, a strange thought. It comes and goes. It does not cause the sangha. But then I go on dwelling over that jalebi again and again and again. Then I get connected to that particular thought, and then I have to go and have it, and I have to enjoy it. So what he says is, Vishayan dhyayataha pumsaha sangaha teshu upajayate. Sangaha teshu, into all those vishayas, sangaha, or a deep kind of an attachment to fulfill that, a deep raga develops. Then sangat sanjayate kamaha. So when there is a deep attraction and entanglement with that thought, what happens? Sangat sanjayate kamaha. The desire gets stoked, like fire. So there is first dwelling on the object of likes or whatever it is, whatever I like, or the spriha that is there in the mind, that is dhyayato, or dwelling. And when I dwell upon it for sufficient amount of time, sangaha, there is a deep connection with that thought. With that connection, kamaha, that means the desire to fulfill that. Kama krodho bijayate. If that kama is not fulfilled, if something comes in the way of that kama, that desire turns into unhappiness and anger. A blocked desire, a desire which cannot be fulfilled, manifests itself as anger. And krodhat bhavati sammoha. When krodha happens, then my whole mind is mohita, sammoha. Dharma adharma viveka, avivekaha. Dharma adharma aviveka. When there is krodha, what is right, what is wrong, what is dharma, what is adharma. How much should I say? What I should not say. What should I do? What should I not do? Dharma, adharma, aviveka is what is called as sammoha. Sammohat smriti vibhramaha. When I have that moha or dharma, adharma, aviveka, what happens? Smriti vibhramaha. Whatever I have learned all this time, whatever I have known through my karma yoga, through shravanam, mananam, the whole thing is forgotten. Smriti vibhramaha. Smriti bramshat buddhi nashaha. When the smriti or whatever I have learned is completely forgotten, I am totally under the spell of raga and dvesha and moha. What happens? Buddhi nashaha. Buddhi nasha means I am no longer a human being capable of a discriminative intellect. The discrimination of the intellect is completely gone. And when the intellect, discriminative intellect, is no longer operational, what happens? Buddhi nashat pranashyati. That is my destruction. Now, if it happens once also, it is a great fall. But imagine if it keeps happening again and again and again for a mumukshu, for a person who wants to be a sthita prajna, who is doing all the sadhana just because of his carelessness of dwelling over an object of rasa in his mind, it can completely bring him down like a ball falling on a staircase and take him to a step where there is no discrimination of the buddhi. Dharma, adharma, viveka is gone. Whatever I have learnt is forgotten at that moment, for that moment, and then there is buddhi nasha. Buddhi nashat pranashyati. That particular situation or that particular moment is gone for me, pranashyati. And the results of such a moha, such a buddhinasha could be anything. If it is a very small minor thing, it's okay. But in such a krodha, I may do something which I can't even regret later. And by regretting also, I cannot get back. Therefore, Krishna is saying, since the indriyas and the mind are, prasabham haranti manaha, because they are capable of forcefully taking you away. Therefore, be careful till you are abiding in this nishtha, till you are a sthita prajna. The path is very, very, very slippery. Kabir says, Raha Barik, he says in one of his, bhajans, Raha Barik. But the Guru has found it. How to go across, how to cross over that very, very narrow path. So, in such times, it is possible that we may lose and we may just slip down. So, Arjuna, therefore, be careful how you handle your sense organs and the mind. And this, next, he comes back to the Sthita Prajna. We can take up this also, so that next class, next session, probably we could finish the 4th chapter. So in the 64th verse, now Krishna wants to give the next step of this particular, thing which has been discussing right from the 55th verse. Now he says here, Raga Dvesha Viyuktaistu Vishayanindriyaischaran Atma Vashyir Vidheyatma Prasadamadighachati. When the sense organs are free from raga dveshas, when the mind is free from the spriha or the mind is free from the rasa of raga dveshas, what happens? In spite of the mind and sense organs, vishayan indriyais even though they are moving about in the field of the sense objects, for a person, atma vashyairi vidheyatma, for the person, for a sthita prajna, the one who has the sense organs and mind in his vasha, svavashaha, in spite of the mind and sense organs, even if they are exposed to the jagat world of objects outside, such a person is not moved by ragadveshas, and such a state of mind is called as prasadam. Prasadam adhigachati. Who? Atma Vashyair Vidheyatma, the one who has his sense organs and mind under him, and he is able to direct them and guide them adequately, appropriately, in the right measure, at the right place, at the right time. This is called as the Indriyas being under my vasha. For such a person, prasadam adhigachati. What is the meaning of prasadam? Prasadam means it is a clarity of mind, cheerfulness of mind. And in this clarity, in this cheerfulness, whatever I'm imbibing in the form of Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam gets absolutely absorbed. A mind which has clarity, a mind which is cheerful, A mind which is not disturbed by the sense organs, a buddhi which is capable of involving itself in this jnana yoga sadhana, such a buddhi is called as prasada. Prasada means what? Happy, cheerful, a buddhi which has got clarity. Therefore, the sense organs are no longer disturbing this person. The rasam is gone. The sense organs are under me, and therefore I allow them as much as I want, like a pet dog under the leash of the owner. The owner can let it, how far, how much, what. So that way, the indriyas are under my control. They are in my leash, and I can use them whenever I want, in whatever way I want, which becomes a sadhaka in my journey as a mumukshu, not as a badhaka, the one which does not stall my spiritual progress, but the one which helps me to go further. This kind of a buddhi is called as prasadam adhigacchati. He attains this kind of a prasada. Prasada means here we are not talking about Ishvara prasada of karma yoga. Okay, there also, you see, in Sanskrit words have got many different meanings. There, Ishvararpana buddhya karma kartavyam, Ishvara prasada buddhena karma phala swikriti, that prasada. Here also prasada means that cheerful state of mind. Prasadam adhigacchati. Atma means the mind. Prasadam adhigacchati. So here the antakarana is swa-adhina. Swadhina. Swa-adhina. Antakarana by what? Swa-ichha, not by para-ichha. Nobody is forcing my mind to be like this. It is swa-ichhaya. Swa-ichhaya. Antakarana is there in my control, not forced at all. So, swa adhina, swa ichhaya antakarana swa adhina, not forced, but out of understanding, out of knowledge, out of awareness that this is what is needed for me to become a sita prajna. Therefore, I am not pulled by what my ragadveshas, but the mind is in a state of prasada. Prasada madhigacchati. And in this prasada, the mind is swa-adhina and the intellect is swa-adhina and the intellect is capable of whatever it is supposed to do. What is it supposed to do now? It is supposed to do nididhyasanam, jnana yoga. I am a pravritta in jnana yoga. I have already finished all the rungs of ladder and have come to the rung of jnana yoga. And at this state, I cannot afford to fall down. And at this state, what I want is shama, dhamma, uparama, where I have to be in charge of my sense organs, dhamma, in charge of my mind and buddhi, shama, and capable of withdrawing the mind and sense organs as and when they are not necessary, and allow them to work in the field of the world outside whenever it is necessary. This is called as prasadam adhigacchati. This kind of a mumukshu gets this particular prasada, the state of mind, and for a sthita prajna, this state of prasadam is already achieved. So simultaneously we are seeing here that this is already done by the sthita prajna and he is there. Whereas this is what is to be done by me to be there. So simultaneously the sthita prajna lakshanas and the mumukshoho sadhanani are simultaneously together are being dealt by this. So what happens by this prasada is talked about in the next verse. Prasade, I think we have hardly any time, so probably we could go to this. With this prasada, what happens is, this buddhi is able to, just a brief introduction I'll give you. With this prasada sthiti of the mind, then what happens is that this prasanna chetasaha, what it does is it's able to really absorb whatever has to be absorbed, and for such a mind, it is easy to abide in jnana nishtha. So we'll take it up in the next session. Om nandantu sadhaka sarve vinashyantu vidushakaha avastha shambhavi mestu prasannostu guru sada सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय.